A staple I do in all interviews in order to start things off is to ask that you elaborate a bit about your work and this particular role for those not familiar with it.
My name's Isabella Inchbald. I'm a voice, stage, and screen actress. I've been acting for 7 years. I play Indika in the new game Indika.
In Indika, you provide the performance for the titular character. Could you tell us a bit about the character and the situation she finds herself in?
Yeah, so Indika is a nun in the early 1900s who leaves her monastery and goes on a physical and mental journey with an escaped prisoner by her side and the devil in her head.
When preparing to perform as Indika, were you given any initial direction in regards to the character, just in terms of an example of prep work to get into the mindset of this particular performance?
So I was given a little bit of backstory, but you're not given a huge amount in advance, actually. Most of the work kind of happens in the studio. Obviously, I was given my lines as well, but I wasn't given the entire script, as in all the other characters' lines. The main thing we worked on, actually, or that a lot of work went into in the room for this one, was the getting across a sort of sense of Russianness, the way Russians communicate with each other, which is, like all countries communicate in a slightly different way. So getting the Russian sensibility over whilst doing an English language and an English accent was something that we worked on a bit to sort of get more into the mindset of the characters and the place and stuff.
There are some rather interesting thematic elements to Indika, from religion to culture and to really just being set against a particular era. How do you feel these pressures impacted Indika, the character, and did they have any impact on how you were performing the voice?
It's funny, actually, I'm literally just looking at a Virgin Mary right next to me as you asked me that question. So how do they impact Indika? I mean, they impact her enormously. I mean, she's in a constant conversation with the devil in her head, because she's sort of so wrapped up in her religious life and what's good and what's bad, but at the same time she's sort of also grappling with her instincts and her feelings, and her doubt over her faith. So I mean, it informs all her decisions, that topic. Yeah, not really. I didn't really change my voice when certain topics came up. It was more, I more changed my voice depending on, who she was talking to, what she was trying to achieve, through the questions she was asking or the statements she was making, whether she's challenging Ilya or trying to apologize to one of the other nuns, or I more changed my voice according to the emotion of what was going on rather than necessarily what she was talking about. But of course, that informs it a bit. But yeah.
Religion and the questioning of religion is a big theme in Indika. It's actually the main driving force behind many of Indika's decisions. What are your views on how the character sees the religion, the role she's found herself in at the start of the game, and how her devilish pal influences her philosophical queries?
Well, I feel quite sorry for her because, I mean, it's all she thinks about. But it's also completely normal. Those that have faith, not everyone does, of course, but those that do, certainly in Christian faith anyway, know that it's completely normal to have doubts, about your faith sometimes, and that they're just, like ups and downs in life. You just sort of work through it and try not to worry about it too much. So I think from that point of view, she's actually completely normal. In terms of being a normal nun, she probably isn't a normal nun, given that she didn't really choose to be in a monastery, and she clearly has sort of doubts of a normal person rather than the doubts that a nun might have. But I am generalizing a bit there. But yeah, I feel sorry for her because she's constantly torn between her instincts and what she's been told is right or wrong and what she thinks should be right or wrong. It's must be it's a nightmare being in her head sometimes.
Romance is another element behind the situation Indika finds herself in. What are your thoughts on how she views a youthful love versus potential romance on the road?
You mean her youthful love in the what kind of happened to make her end up in the monastery?
Yeah.
I feel like that seems like within the game, it feels like history, that like just history, far away history, that her youthful love storyline. She feels quite changed as a person, I think, by the time we're in her real time in the story. And it kind of feels like it's starting over with Ilya and the way they sort of start sort of touching on romance, but they don't quite get there. It feels like a couple of teenagers, in a really sweet way. Whereas obviously the first storyline's an absolute disaster. I mean, well, I won't go into what happens with her and Ilya because I don't want to give any spoilers, but yeah, so I'll stop there.
What's it like to see your voice attached to a game character?
It's awesome. It's so cool. Well, I mean, it's so cool when getting to play characters and bringing the voice to all these emotions of a different person is, well, it's a great honor. I love doing it.
When performing the role, were there any particular lines or moments that really stuck out to you, whether that's a behind the scenes moment or from the dialogue?
I love that the conversation she has with the devil when she's in that moment where she can't do anything worse than this. I won't say what that is, obviously, but I just think it's really beautifully written, and we worked a bit more on that bit than other bits. And I love how it's been put into the trailer, the Fair Unfair trailer. I think that's been beautifully done and incorporated that part of the script in it. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I get it. I just think it's so well done. I mean, the whole game's well done, but yeah, that really stuck out to me. I think it's very moving. I'm articulating myself very badly again, but yeah, I think that bit particularly stuck out to me. Also doing the song, I won't forget doing the song. The song was quite hard. I do sing, but it's a Russian lullaby, the song, and I only had a sort of very synthetic-y song to kind of learn it, and it really jumps octaves. So when you're in a sort of big theatre and you're belting out the octaves, that it's easier than sort of trying to keep it really small and casual. And it sort of goes all over the place. You probably can't tell in the final sort of recording, in the final edit. But yeah, that was, I remember sort of trying to learn that and trying to record it successfully, which I hope we did in the end.
Well, it turned out really lovely in the game. I didn't actually know you were
Thank you.
singing that portion of it, but really well done.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So, in the discussion with the devil of sorts and whatnot, how was that kind of done behind the scenes? Were you given like a partner, or are you just kind of reading the lines? Because there's a really good sort of back and forth whenever the two are kind of interacting with one another.
Yeah, I never recorded with the devil himself. So the director would read the devil's lines if the devil hadn't recorded them. If the devil had recorded his lines, it kind of varied. Then they would play his lines in between me doing my lines. That's one of the sort of unique challenges about video game recording that you don't really get in other voice recording. That you often don't record with the other characters in the room, so you can't bounce off each other in a physical sense at all. In a kind of energy sense. Obviously, you're not necessarily physically acting, but in a kind of energy sense, you don't have them to bounce off. But I'm glad that it came off well, and that the rapport seems a success. Good.
Alright, so this might go into the realms of spoilers a little bit, which we'll put a warning tag and whatnot. How do you personally view the ending of Indika, or well, the conclusion of her story in the game?
I don't know. I think it's pretty tragic. It really upset me when Ilya kind of can I do spoilers? That's fine, is it?
I'll just put a tag.
Okay. Well, I think it's really upsetting when Ilya sort of throws Indika to the guys with the guns in the church. That felt like such betrayal after the long journey they'd come on. And then the very end, I mean, it's supposed to kind of be ambiguous, supposed to make your own mind up about it, aren't you? But I think it's really interesting that only really at that point do we have, or I think it's only really towards the very end that we're suddenly, the POV is Indika's, as in we're not looking at the back of the head, we're literally in her head, looking in the mirror, and she's, trying to use the jets to get the devil out of her head, and just every time she looks in the mirror, he's there. And then he's not. And you think, has it worked? It doesn't feel it. I mean, he's not there, but it doesn't feel like something. I don't feel like we've been building up to this point where that's actually going to work, is it? Like, and I don't know, the environment just doesn't. I don't know. It's kind of injected with just huge doubt, really. I think that's the sense I get when I watched that bit. And when she's then turning around and she's looking around, when that happened, I was sort of looking for the devil, expecting to see him again. And you don't, but I don't think you're filled with, yay, hope that she's got rid of him and now everything's going to be great. I think it's quite sort of sad and morbid, the ending, really.
Yeah, quite a bit of a dread, kind of the vibe.
Dread.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
You were also part of As Dusk Falls, which is another experience I enjoyed. What was the voice work like on that one?
It was really fun, actually. So obviously my main character was Deputy Coburn, but I played lots of other little characters as well. I'm trying to remember all the different bits, but for example, like the weather woman on the TV and things like that. It's always great fun when you're playing all these different parts and trying to make them all sound different, but it's all within America, so they've all got to, they all had, I think I gave them different American accents. And then I was, you sort of have these there was a party scene where I had to just improvise characters in a high school scene, just in a high school party scene, just on my own, just for as long as possible, like a girlfriend getting pissed off with her boyfriend for flirting with that girl, and this girl getting really drunk, and there's, and maybe they're all the same person, maybe they're all the different people. They sort of mash it up at the end to create a sort of soundscape of sorts, I suppose. So yeah, it was great fun. It was great fun. And Interior Night was a lovely company. They were great. Lovely company to work with.
I assume, but I will ask, do you see yourself being interested in additional game-related performances in the future?
Absolutely. I hope so, yeah. I mean, yeah, I love working in video games. So, yeah, I hope to do many more.
Lastly, I would like to leave a spot for you to say something or go over anything I might have missed during the interview.
To go on tour with a stage play. It's only in the UK though. You're in Canada, aren't you? So I'm not sure. I'm not sure you'll see it. But yeah, I'm about to do that. It's called Dial M for Mayhem, and we open at the Malvern Theatres, and we're going all around the UK later this summer and into autumn. Yeah, I've also started writing. I've started writing screenplays. So watch this space. It's something I'm really excited about pursuing. So yeah.